Some fight, huh?
Which fight?
Dempsey Carpentier.
That fight hasn't happened yet.
We come into this episode with Nucky under such a level of stress that it never leaves him, even when he's sleeping. And I thought, well, this actually might be a really good way to introduce where Nucky's head is in this episode. So the idea of starting with a dream sequence was talked about. We open on the elevator, and you're not really quite sure where he is or if it's a dream at all. And then it suddenly starts to become weird. He sees a baseball glove on a chair. The baseball glove is sort of reminiscent of a story he told about his father, who made him fight a bunch of boys because they stole his baseball glove. So the episode is a lot about fathers and sons and the relationships between Nucky and his dad, who dies in the episode, and Jimmy and Nucky, and it's all mixed together in Nucky's mind. He goes into the office, and then there's a little boy sitting at the desk who's meant to evoke Jimmy, and he holds up his hand, and the hand is bleeding, much like Nucky's hand from the injury. Nucky, in reply to that, says, "Daddy eats first," which is a callback to what his father said to him when he scalded him with the hot poker. So it's all mixed up together. Then he looks down, and there's a wounded deer on the floor, and then looks back up again, and the little boy shoots him, and that's sort of meant to call back the statue that Nucky gave Jimmy in episode 201. The statue depicted the man mentoring the boy in a hunting situation. It's all tied up together again, fathers, sons, injuries, blood. It's all creepy and it's kind of disturbing.
Nucky. What are you doing here?
I have as much right to be here as you do.
I'm surprised is all.
We had staged Nucky in the foreground and Eli behind him. So the idea being that they can't read each other. One's looking at the back of someone's head and the other one can't see the person behind him, which I always like because then the character can have an honest moment and you can get to see what they're really thinking about without the mask a person wears when they're looking in someone's eyes sometimes. Then we added this moment to the end of the sequence where Nucky approaches Ethan's casket and he looks at him. You can't really read what he's thinking. And he sort of scans his body and goes past the rosaries and looks down at his shoes, these sort of worn-out shoes. He noticed that one of the shoes is untied. We've come to know these little things about Nucky's character, like, you know, the lipstick on the glass in season 1. It's an annoyance. You think, oh, well, this is just annoying him. So he goes to start tying this shoe, and he just falls apart. Regret, guilt, anger, sorrow, it's all there. The challenge of that day was that Tom Aldrich, who played Ethan, was a beautiful actor. He'd been ill for some time, and in fact has sadly passed since. That was Tom's actual last day on the show. So it was really an incredibly emotional day. Every day presents its challenges, but that was the challenge of that day.
My father, the Commodore, had a vision. A kingdom on the ocean rising up from the sand. Yeah. Well, I got a vision too. To share that kingdom with its court.
Yeah. Jimmy's victory party at Babette's at the end of the episode is interesting. It sort of calls back the theme from episode 1 of after you get what you want, you don't want it. Finally, Jimmy is ascended to the throne and he's the king, but it's an empty victory for him. It's also coupled with the idea that he is in charge now. He's not answering to anybody. He's the guy everyone else answers to. So if he doesn't like somebody, it's going to come right to the surface. Of course, in the middle of this victory party, in walks Mickey Doyle with Manny, who he doesn't like, and automatically turns Jimmy sour. The whole thing escalates to Jimmy in his first act of power, throws Mickey off the balcony and crashes him down onto the table in front of Manny, essentially sending a message to Manny that Jimmy is somebody to be reckoned with, and also to everybody else in that hall. And he's really the anti-Nucky. You know, now Jimmy is taking over, but he's violent and kind of hot-headed, whereas Nucky is very much the politician.
What? He ain't the type I play with.
Right. Because you're his friend.
So it's all eyes are on the prince, who's soon to be the king. He's gonna send a message. And he takes Doyle and hurls him over the balcony. The challenges of shooting it, you know, Babette's is a tough space, period. Tough place to move equipment around, and there's always a high extra count, and there's always a lot going on. There's music, there's dancers, there's stuff, but it looks fantastic. So the big challenge there technically was getting Doyle off the ledge and onto the floor. That's probably 12-foot drop, 15 feet, onto a table that had a cushion under a tablecloth and the collapsible legs and so on. And wanted the camera to be on a crane arm so that when he took him, we could go with him. Guy was a great stunt man, and we did some dry runs until we were comfortable. And then we put him in there and did it.